What if everything you thought you knew about yourself was a lie? Neymar, the football legend adored by millions, is being followed by something dark. A house he's never entered before, a voice calling him by name, and a reflection that isn't his own. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the quiet town. Neymar had just finished an event with his fans. The usual adrenaline rush he felt after such events had faded, replaced by a strange unease. Something felt off. As he walked down the street, his senses tingled, as though someone or something was watching him. Turning the corner, he saw it. An old house, abandoned and decaying. He had passed it countless times before, but tonight something about it felt different. Its windows were dark, its structure sagging with age, but it seemed alive. There was a strange pull, an invitation to enter. Neymar tried to shake the feeling, but his feet moved on their own. He stopped at the door. It was slightly ajar, as though waiting for him. A voice, soft but distinct, called out from inside.
Neymar, come in.
The voice wasn't familiar, yet it resonated deep within him. It stirred something from his past, a memory he couldn't quite place. His heart raced, but something compelled him to step forward. He turned the doorknob, and it creaked open. Inside, the air was thick, heavy with age and dust. The walls were lined with photographs, most cracked and yellowed with time. One picture, however, stood out, a photograph of Neymar as a child. It was taken in a place he didn't recognize, and in the background, a shadowy figure loomed behind him. The figure wasn't human. Its eyes gleamed with an unnatural intensity. Neymar took a step back, heart pounding in his chest. This wasn't just a house. It was a trap, a place where the past and present collided. He turned, desperate to leave, but then something caught his eye. A door at the far end of the hallway was slightly open. Curiosity gnawed at him. He approached it, and as he pushed the door open, his blood ran cold. It was a mirror, large, ornate, its edges intricately carved. But what made Neymar freeze in his tracks wasn't the mirror itself. It was the reflection. It wasn't his face. The reflection was twisted, his eyes hollow, the smile contorted into something sinister. Neymar's body tensed as the reflection moved, but not in sync with him. It mocked his every move, smiling when he frowned. Neymar, the voice whispered again. Louder this time, desperate, almost pleading. I need you. The room seemed to close in around him, shadows lengthening like fingers reaching out for him.
He could feel the temperature drop.
The air thick with a sense of dread. His reflection still stared back at him, its eyes now wide with hunger. Suddenly, the door creaked open behind him. A figure stepped into the room. It was tall, dark, its features obscured by shadows. Neymar could feel its presence, like a weight pressing down on his chest. The figure's eyes gleamed, burning with an unnatural light. Neymar's heart raced, and for the first time in his life, he felt truly afraid. You've been running from me for too long, the figure said, its voice both familiar and terrifying. Neymar tried to speak, but his throat was dry. His voice failed him. Who are you? He managed to ask, barely a whisper. The figure smiled, a wicked grin that spread across its face.
You know who I am.
I've always been with you, watching, waiting. A flood of memories came crashing into Neymar's mind, a memory from his childhood, long buried. He was running through a dark forest, the trees twisting like living things, the shadows stretching after him. He was always running, but he could never escape. Something had always been behind him, following him. The figure in front of him was that thing, always lurking, waiting for the right moment. The figure's smile widened. It's time to face what you've been running from. Neymar stepped back, panic flooding his veins. He turned toward the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening sound. The shadows closed in, swallowing the light. The figure stepped closer, its hands reaching for him. You're mine now, it whispered. Neymar tried to scream, but the words wouldn't come. His mind raced as he fought to break free, but his body refused to obey. Just as the figure's hands touched his shoulder, the room seemed to tremble. There was a loud crash, the door flying open. The figure vanished into the darkness. Neymar collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. His body trembled, but he forced himself to look up. Another figure stood in the doorway. It was him, or at least it looked like him. The doppelganger stepped forward, its eyes empty, devoid of life. "You can't run anymore," it said, its voice echoing in the room.